We should be live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Crypto Mondays. How are we doing today?
All right. Hey, Annalise.
Hey, we have our special guest, Kyle Kemper, in the building. If you guys haven't seen him, he is the founder of Swiss Key. I'm super excited to have him here. Kyle, how are you?
I'm doing great, Annalise. Thank you so much for having me on the show. And I apologize if my internet connection isn't the best in the world, but we just got to roll with the punches.
Well, you sound good to me, and I'll let you know if I have any issues, but I think we should be good to go. What about you, Lou?
Yeah, no, I can hear Kyle great, and I'm excited for the show today.
Awesome. All righty. So, first, Kyle, I would like you to introduce yourself for anyone who doesn't know who you are and what you do.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Kyle Kemper. So I got into the space back in 2013. Had kind of my Bitcoin awakening. I was one of the early pioneers in the Canadian ecosystem. I launched a Bitcoin ATM in Ottawa in the end of 2013, and then
how did you find out about it?
So I found out. So first off, I found out about it by I was actually doing some video rendering, and it takes a really long time to do that. And so while the video was rendering, we were looking up Bitcoin as it was. And that was probably in 2010. And immediately I was like, this is interesting, but then I just disregarded it. Like I think a lot of people do at the very first kind of impression, is they don't take it very seriously. But then over the next 3 years, it was more and more and more impressions. And it got to the point where I really wanted to get some Bitcoin. And I got a message. I was in the world of making unique engraved wood iPhone cases. And someone from
that's kind of nice.
Yeah, and someone from a Bitcoin company called btcquick.com, I don't think they're around anymore, he messaged me, and I was like, I would love to make you one. And so we agreed half a Bitcoin was the price. And so I sold an iPhone case for half a Bitcoin. And that was my first ever Bitcoin. Was not bought Bitcoin. It was earned, not mined Bitcoin, but I sold good for Bitcoin.
You said btcquick.com. That was the name of the site?
It was like a Colorado exchange or something, but yeah, I haven't followed on. I would love to connect with that guy again, but that was like my first intro. And then, I just really believed in the technology. I kind of got swept up in the Ron Paul libertarian craze in 2008, and looking at the Fed and end the Fed, and I was looking at gold and digital versions of gold. And somewhere I've got a gigantic map of how we could digitize gold, and I think that was something that a lot of people were interested in. And in the end, that was not something to work, but Bitcoin, having the impressions and then understanding it and getting into it. And then once we had this Bitcoin ATM, my family has restaurants in Ottawa, Canada. So we put that in the restaurant, and I worked there and I served and bartended. So I would show people how it worked all day long. People had so many questions about it. So I would set them up with a wallet, show them how it worked. And then I got a call from the Senate of Canada saying, we're doing an investigation into Bitcoin, and we would like to see how the ATM works. Can we do a field trip to your restaurant? I was like, that would be great. How about I just bring the ATM to the floor of the Senate? And they're like, you can do that? I'm like, we can do anything. So we brought the ATM, and it's on camera. The head of the the Senate Banking, Trade, and Commerce Committee, the BTC Committee.
What year was this?
That was in 2014.
Wow.
And they bought $100 worth of Bitcoin, which I think at the time was like 0.3 Bitcoin or something like that, like just with cash at it. And we also, they had been, this is just interesting, in the space, they had been studying Bitcoin for 7 months, but they had never actually witnessed a transaction take place. So as part of the demonstration, we showed how you could buy from the ATM, but I was also with my friend Victoria Van Eyck, and I just showed them very simply, like, I think it was $50 or $20. I was like, this is $50 Canadian. It's like, okay,
Right.
like, Victoria, I want to buy $50 worth of Bitcoin off of you. Here's $50. Like, okay, show me your address. Showed her my address. She scanned it, sent it. It's like, done. I'm like, oh, received. Just that. Just the actual experience of seeing it after studying it for so long was really, it kind of put them back a little bit. And we're like, okay, wow, that was it? I'm like, yes, no banks involved, no middlemen involved, no way to stop that transaction. It's
No drugs
done.
involved. Right? There's a lot of word that it was only used for drugs at the time.
That was, you know, at the time that was the drugs, terrorism, money laundering. We still hear those all the time, but you know, that's yes, that probably is a small use case, but digital cash for a digital world is a much bigger use case. Digital programmable money is the future. And talking to these people about radical accountability and radical transparency is a message that I think they really needed to hear, and governments really need to hear, because the beautiful thing about the public ledger is we do have radical transparency and radical accountability. And you know, we didn't get into like showing how multi-sig worked at that time, but yes, there are so many wonderful applications from it. And you know, that was one really pivotal kind of moment in my career. And after that, I worked with CA Vertex, which is Canada's largest exchange, and I also worked with a company called ChangeTip.
Where are they based?
CA Vertex was the Canadian virtual exchange, and it was the biggest exchange. It started in 2012, and it got acquired by CoinSetter, and then got acquired by Kraken in 2017, I believe. Yeah, and then I worked with then I worked with ChangeTip and Nick Sullivan, Victoria Van Eyck, and that crew. And I was actually the biggest user on the platform, because once I saw,
I was an investor. That was the first company I invested in the space.
And
yeah, Nick is great.
Good on you. What an amazing platform. I wish it had survived that first bear winter, because if we still had ChangeTip today, Bitcoin would be much more dominant, in my opinion, because the great thing about ChangeTip was it enabled
Why don't you tell folks what ChangeTip was, for those who didn't know?
Absolutely. So ChangeTip, first time I saw it was someone was sending money or sending Bitcoin over Twitter. All you needed to do is say at ChangeTip, send at Annalise 1,000 bits or 10,000 bits, and press send, and then that would trigger it. Used bots in the background, and that would trigger a transaction. And if Annalise didn't have an account, it would say create an account by clicking here. All she had to do was click that link, log in with Twitter, and then she had a Bitcoin wallet. It was an off-chain wallet, but it was a Bitcoin wallet held with ChangeTip, and now she had Bitcoin. So it made getting your first wallet as easy as logging in with Twitter or Facebook, and they had all sorts of other fun use cases within it. They had this solution called the magic URL. For anybody who's an entrepreneur looking for a great idea, this is still something that's needed today. And this magic URL enabled you to I paid my friend for a canoe trip that I went on with him. It was $200. I put $200 and generated this unique URL, sent it to him. He clicked it, logged in with Facebook, and then had $200 worth of Bitcoin. He never spent that, and when ChangeTip went down, he withdrew it to a bread wallet, to his own wallet, and that $200 was 0.9 of a Bitcoin. So it was an incredible platform. If you want to see a good time, check out the hashtag #ThisIsGentleman on Twitter. That was my code that I would associate to all my tips or Twitter transfers. And looking back at it, in South by Southwest a number of years ago, we did a like a cash cab. Like, I'm not sure if you ever heard of the show Cash Cab. Where they
Yeah.
do that. So we did like a Bitcoin petty cash cab, where through the magic of the universe, I met this girl Carrie who had in Austin. They have pedicabs, which are bicycles that have like a little seat on the back that you sit on. They take you around, and she had hers all tricked out on Bitcoin, and I was wearing full red suit with a top hat. And we went and just grabbed random people off the street, got them to sit down, offered them a ride somewhere, and I proceeded to ask them questions about, the financial system, and then giving away Bitcoin. And that night I'd been with Nick Sullivan, and he was in really good spirits. He was like, Kyle, you know what? Go have fun tonight. Give away $1,000 on the platform. Like, here you go. And so we had which was like 3 Bitcoin at the time. We gave away so much, and asked people questions like, here's the question, like, Lou, on what, like, for $20, on what island was the Federal Reserve created?
Good question. Do not know.
What island?
What island was the Federal Reserve Act created?
Greenland, Hispaniola? I don't know.
No? Okay, and then here's my follow-up. Here's the hint. Dr. Blank and Mr. Hyde.
Jekyll Island?
Jekyll Island. That's like
I would have never gotten
$20.
I need to do more studying.
Oh yeah. On December 24th, I think it was, I'm not sure the year, 1916, 18, 13, 12, or something like that. The Federal Reserve Act was signed into law, and it was created in secret on Jekyll Island in Georgia. And that was where we got the beast, the creature from Jekyll Island, that is the U.S. Federal Reserve System, a bank that is about as Federal Express.
Okay. I see.
It does what it does, right?
It does what it does. And so that was like, and then using Change Tip, we would send out the money to people, and we would ask more questions along those lines, and have a really kind of interesting time. And I was there kind of on a marketing kind of activation role with Nick, like thinking about like, look, this is a really big market, and this is early too. This is 2015, I think.
Wow.
And we're like, I remember I was sending people 10,000 bits. That was $3. So Bitcoin was what, $300, like, at that time. This was the first bear winter when it went from 1,000 down to like 200, and it stayed that way for about 2 years. Yeah. And now if I look back on all that, and I've since sent people messages like, hey, like, you should get your money out of the Change Tip, because, I sent you, like, we did one activation with a group and ended up sending them a whole Bitcoin. So, yeah, that was really exciting. And that got me on this journey around wallets and the need for an amazing user experience. And I found that Change Tip had just one of the best user experiences in terms of friction. It couldn't compare. Just being able to sign in with Facebook or Twitter, and to be able to have an account. And I would tell people, like, that's not an account for you to keep, your family's wealth in, but this is an account for doing like Venmo style transactions. This is a social payment platform. Now, this is what I've kind of realized over the years in reflecting on it. It was a social payment platform. It wasn't a tipping platform. And that's where I think, in retrospect and lessons learned, and had going back to that time, I think we would have, been a little more aggressive on the messaging that this is a crypto social payment platform and not a tipping platform, because frankly, the market for tipping, it still doesn't exist. And, trying to create a market for a business isn't, I don't know. I don't think it's the
great.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see where the market for it is absent, especially I think Bottle Pay had went out of business. I remember that on Twitter that they did the same thing, tipping people for over tweets. And then recently, I think it was CoinKit. Now, if you tip too much, you can get spammed. So you can get like kicked off the platform, and it won't let you tip anymore. Because a lot of people were using it to, I guess, push content and stuff like that. But I guess if you abuse using it, then you'll get flagged. But yeah, I can see where that ecosystem still doesn't exist, and where it's more of like a social money platform, kind of like what you're describing.
And it enabled micropayments too. So like, I helped a friend who I met years ago in Puerto Rico move some coins from his old phone to his new phone, and I've got him set up on a new wallet and explained what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And just to move the funds, it cost him $9 to move the Bitcoin. So like
Jeez.
right now, Bitcoin doesn't work for small transactions anymore, and we've kind of known this was going to happen for a long time.
Right.
That's why I like multiple different currencies. Like, I don't mind sending Dash or Bitcoin Cash or Litecoin or Dogecoin, but Bitcoin, like the view is Lightning Network will solve it, but I
Lightning
hope
Network, it's confusing. It's confusing. It's not easy to get, because it's not like, oh, it's something that, it's already built into what you're already using. It's something that you have to download a separate wallet. I found out the other day, if you, let's say, delete the Blue Wallet off your phone and re-download it, all your Lightning is gone. Like, it doesn't back it up. And I was like, that's kind of crazy. So it has its kinks.
Yeah, and the maximalists will just call everything else a scam, but I don't I really believe that there's there's really talented people working on all sorts of different projects, and if we think about the throughput of the collective network, it's very strong. The whole collective network isn't as secure as Bitcoin itself, but there definitely is value and utility to some of these other coins, and I'm down with that. But at the same time, there's also room, given this was one of the problems that ChangeTip was solving, was as an off-chain solution where they're basically keeping a database of everybody's accounts. Then you can just enable, there's no cost to sending one Satoshi aside from a small computer cost to doing that, for sending one Satoshi from one party to another. So it made small transactions very feasible, because even during those days, if it was 5 cents to send a transaction, that still doesn't make microtransactions possible. But when you get it down to no cost to do that, then then it worked. So I still wish that solution was around. Someone's going to build it. It's going to be great. And I tried building it, didn't work. But
didn't work. It's okay.
We learn our lessons, and and part of that lessons and part of that journey was after that. I actually was in the Miami Hackathon. I created a project called Social Wallet, which used the ChangeTip APIs, and I wanted to just rip away all mention of ChangeTip and utilize their login, their Facebook login, and their APIs to do the sending. And we're going to use ChangeTip as the underlying platform, but just make it the social wallet that had 2 very simple buttons, send and request, and just enabling leveraging the ChangeTip structure and enabling this sending and requesting and having an activity feed, really going after Venmo for crypto. And yeah, I learned a lot of lessons, in that journey, and ultimately it didn't succeed, but that's part of life. And then after that, in making this kind of conscious decision to look at the wallet space, then I kind of started having some real epiphanies about the true power of the wallet. And I remember listening to Andreas Antonopoulos in 2014 at the Bitcoin Expo in Canada talked about how in the future we will have one wallet that is full of tokens for all different types. And if you want to pay with one, if you want to receive one token, you can receive that, and someone can pay in whatever token they want. And we'll have tokens for all different things. And it's I see that happening right now. But in the landscape, it's if I just look on my phone, I've got 30 different wallets. And I just don't see that being I obviously I'm an innovator and an early adopter. Mm-hmm. But for the mainstream users, I just don't see that kind of being acceptable to, you know, put that threshold. And I also like one of my other big hangups is those seed words, is seed mnemonics. I think
the seed phrases. Yeah.
I think they're just a nightmare. I mean, they serve a big purpose, but they're really complicated from a user experience point of view to explain that to your mother or your niece or your grandfather, or like, you know, or even a friend. Just the purpose and the concept. It's a new user experience. So that anytime you introduce a new user experience, like sending money, sending an email is one thing, and crypto has a lot of new things to it. You just add another new thing and it makes it more difficult, which means people will resort to the easier solutions like a Coinbase, which is a custodial solution, which is not your keys, not your coins, you know, but it's simpler. So, you know, one of the things in doing this whole journey, and, you know, to where I am now with Swiss Key, is, you know, I wrote a book called The Unified Wallet, Unlocking a Digital Golden Age. And like, even my cover, it's like, you know, the key in the center and tons of tokens around. And I really believe in the idea of a golden age, that we are on the verge of a golden age. We're actually moving from like a bronze age to a golden age. And this can be one thing, is the idea of a universal self-sovereign wallet that's capable of holding keys of all different types. Because at the end of the day, like, you know, your wallet is just a key generator. It generates you a public key and a private key, and it also acts as as a personal ledger as well. So where you can keep notes on your transactions, and that like is the basic wallet. But now when we start thinking about the super wallets, and I will use my favorite super wallet right now, and the one that I'm working with towards building Swiss Key, is Edge Wallet. So Edge Wallet is what I call a super wallet. So Edge solved the seed mnemonic challenge. Instead of writing down a seed phrase, you have a username and password, and it encourages you to write down your password. And it creates the username and password creates a secure enclave under which it stores all your different private keys for all your different coins. Because you have a different seed mnemonic for Bitcoin than Litecoin, than EOS, and Ethereum, Dogecoin, etc. They all have their own different ones. So what Edge has done is created, like, you know, your own private vault. And there's no I forgot my password button. There is no centralized database that's holding on to the passwords. They do it in a beautiful, secure way. And if you're interested in learning more about that, I highly recommend following Paul Pui and looking at some of his talks, because he is, like, you know, OG security expert, honest, true, has been just, you know, true. Satoshi would be proud of Paul. And you know, and Edge is the super wallet that allows you to support multiple coins, to be able to trade coins directly within the wallet using third-party exchanges, non-custodial exchanges. And it allows you to buy crypto using a host of different service providers, so it's not relying on one or choosing to do one way. And it also lets you buy gift cards directly within it. So, like, you know, I bought an Uber Eats gift card with Dash the other day, like in 2 seconds, and had the credits in my Uber Eats wallet. So it's like, you know, utilizing that. And then on top of that, additionally, it allows you to keep your own ledgers and your notes. And like, it has some, you know, simple yet powerful personal accounting tools within it to be able to classify your transactions and, you know, keep your own centralized personal ledger of your activities, which I think is important for us to be able to know that. And at the core, it's all your keys, your coins. Nobody else has access.
A lot of good points that you mentioned there, especially when it comes to different kinds of wallets, different kinds of securities, the mnemonic phrases, all that stuff is very difficult, especially for people who are onboarding, newer people who are getting into the space. I think the first time I tried to onboard someone, like when I was newer to crypto, like we were trying to figure out what wallet for them to even use, because I had gotten a Ledger. I hadn't tried any app wallets. Obviously, they didn't have one, and it was a nightmare, essentially. So I do understand the frustration that people who are getting into the cryptocurrency space have. And I do believe that in order to have any type of adoption that's, you know, massive, it needs to be simple. People don't want to they don't want to complicate things. They give their money to banks because they don't need to worry about everything under the sun that comes with cryptocurrency and, you know, even trying to store a coin, right? So a lot of good points you mentioned there. Oh, can you guys hear me? Oh, sorry. I don't know if I cut out or not.
Yep, no.
Okay, good.
Loud and clear.
All right. So tell me a little more, I guess, about SwissKey, how it works. I know it works more along the lines of like the NFC tap and pay technology. Last year, when I had seen you for the first time, you had put it into an art piece. That's actually kind of cool. Want to talk a little bit about that too. But go ahead and explain the technology behind SwissKey.
Okay, yeah. So that's a great kind of, you know, next step. So, you know, in this whole journey, I've been all about adoption and making things simple.
Mm-hmm.
And I was over in Switzerland last year for the Crypto Valley conference, and I was there. The Canadian government actually wanted me to go speak on behalf of the Canadian industry and do some kind of trade commission work. And I was at another crypto conference, and you know, it's amazing. Everybody's an expert in crypto, but nobody uses it, and nobody has wallets. Nobody actually knows how it works. And so, like, you know, and again, it's like, you know, these funded companies hiring, like, you know, hiring staff, generally pretty females, to work the booths, and they have no idea how crypto works. So it's literally like, you know, I was okay, well, download Edge Wallet, and they're like, Hedge Wallet. And I was like, oh no, Edge Wallet, and it's because just the language thing. And so when I got them to download it, and they're like, wow, and they got it. And then I sent the crypto, and I was like, wow, I got it. I talked to Paul from Edge Wallet, and I was like, Paul, like the word Edge is just, I mean, I get it. It's a good kind of computing word, but it's kind of hard to find in the App Store, and it's kind of generic. It doesn't really mean anything. And he's like, Kyle, well, we rebranded to Edge, and I'm not really interested in going through another process like that. But if you want, why don't you build the unified wallet as you wrote your book about? You can leverage our platform, and we'll work together, and you can all these feedbacks on the app that you've got. Let's integrate them, and we'll support you in this project. So that was a really big moment in my life. That was kind of a pivotal conversation, after which, you know, I started scheming, and we ultimately settled on SwissKey as the name by which we're rebranding, or not, we're creating a white label modified version of Edge.
I see.
And we also, like, I partnered with a company called Tangem, who make these NFC cards. And so we created these SwissKey cards, these SwissKey crypto cards. And part of my strategy is really not to try and build new, amazing, secure crypto tech and do that. My strategy is to find, test, use the best amazing tech out there and unify it underneath a brand called SwissKey, and really make a brand play out of this. Because I believe, like, we're at 100 million users of 8 billion people on the planet. We don't have, like, you know, we have Coinbase, we've got Kraken, Gemini. There aren't a lot, and all those are generally custodial brands. In terms of the wallets, you got blockchain.com, BRD, Copay, Samurai, Argent. Like, there's a bunch, but none of them are really, like, you know, none of them really mean much, in my opinion. And so, you know, one of the things about Switzerland was the symbol. It has a lot of subliminal reference to it. It's a symbol that if you go to the beach, you see the symbol at the beach, and it doesn't mean Switzerland. What does it mean? It means safety. It is the symbol of the lifeguard. So, like, you know, this is this cross, and then the Swiss as a country, as a, you know, as a brand, as a reference, infers quality, sensibility, neutrality, privacy. You know, Barack Obama called Bitcoin like having a Swiss bank account in your pocket. I would counter that. I would say it's actually like having a Swiss bank in your pocket, not just an account. So we're creating this brand around that, and we're working with partners like Edge and like Tangem to find a suite of products to bring under the brand and bring to the market. And that is what my strategy is and continues to be. And we've got the cards, they're available for sale on Tangem's website right now, and we're looking at like larger activations towards, because I really think these cards, like the wallet is the super wallet. The digital wallet is the super wallet. Everyone on earth is going to need one, whether it's Swiss Key or another party. Ultimately, everybody's going to need their own wallet, and I hope that it's self-sovereign and not like a government-issued wallet or a bank-issued wallet, where we become slaves, to that to their software. But these cards are really unique. So this is an NFC powered card. This is a Bitcoin card. And let me show you how it works. So I've got the Tangem Tap app on my phone. Let's see if it shows this. So I go tap, and it goes scan card. And then I just tap the card to my phone, and then there's a little feedback. It goes, and then it shows done. And then
we see it on screen.
Yeah, and then it shows the card. It shows a picture of the card, and it says the balance. This card has no Bitcoin on it right now. Verified balance of 0. If it did, and then it also gives you the address for the card. So if anybody's watching and wants to send Bitcoin to this card, simply scan that address, and then the Bitcoin will go to the address that's related to this card. The address on this card, the private key on this card, cannot be replicated, cannot be backed up, it never gets exposed. So whoever has the card has the key. So if we put $1,000 on this card and I gave it, and we were in person, Lou, and I gave it to you, you would then have the $1,000. It's very much like cash.
Yeah. So now it's not your card, not your money.
Not your card, not your money.
Not your coin. Exactly.
Don't lose your money. Don't lose that card.
And you can sign, and if you want to send money off the card, you simply tap it to the phone, and you can do that. And so when I first saw these, I was like, wow. And the first thing I did was I ordered 40 of them for our Swiss Key company launch party in Switzerland that we held last August. And
wait, your company launch party was in Switzerland? That's funny.
Yeah, it was in Switzerland, and we celebrated and we had like some speeches, and then we brought together a whole bunch of people, and it was held at a place called Chainworks, which was like a blockchain accelerator in downtown Zurich. And it was the day before the street parade, which is a 1 million person gathering to EDM rave techno music.
Oh, wow.
And we celebrated the night before by having a decentralized dance party. So I brought my friend Gary LaChance, who's the founder of Tom and Gary's Decentralized Dance Party, came over to Switzerland, and we had 4 sound boxes with us, which are the loudest portable speakers on the planet. We had thousands of stickers with us, and we had all these jammy packs. This is a jammy pack, so we had about 100 jammy packs. So these are fanny packs with speakers in them that connect via Bluetooth.
That is so cute. I love that.
Yeah. And so we went out into the streets of Zurich, like giving out stickers and but more than anything, just dancing and celebrating life and human connection and community and collaboration. And so, that was one of the ways we marked it. And then we had another decentralized dance party at the Futurist conference in Toronto a couple weeks later. So that was, one way that we started by getting kind of the brand out there and getting the stickers out there and getting some brand recognition around it. And honestly, we've been doing a lot more of that. We acquired a bus earlier this year. So we've got a 40-foot tour bus that says Blockchain Across America on it right now. It was Jason King's bus that he ran from Miami to Santa Monica for raising awareness of blockchain technology and the homeless epidemic in America. And then he was done with the bus, and we needed a bus, so we engaged in an awesome trade. And now we have this bus and have driven it 6,000 miles and introduced crypto to people, because inevitably people have lots of questions.
Right.
And the intention is to continue for it to be a real world kind of marketing vehicle and impression gatherer, and just a way for us to engage. And and in terms of the business right now with Swiss Key, I'm still kind of growing the team, working, securing new partners and strategies towards getting the main app launched, which we're hoping will happen Q1 of 2021. Everything has been kind of hit with this COVID. This COVID has really messed up my life and put an incredible amount of pressure on me. I live between America and Canada, and borders have been closed, and there's mandatory quarantine period, and I have children in Canada, and I have a child in the States, and I had been traveling to Canada 10 days of every month, and that's been ended. And also, like, my efforts as soon as this came about, I issued a warning, or I made an impassioned speech on SwissKey.io about being aware of what is happening and how in these moments of crisis we tend to see our rights and privileges removed from us in the name of safety and security. And with COVID, it seems there's a real move towards digital currency, not cryptocurrency specifically, but these CBDCs, as well as towards digital identity. Pardon me?
You think that they can be on-ramps, right? That if you never had a digital wallet, if you start with a government wallet, are you more likely to eventually have a digital wallet than if you've never been given a government wallet?
Yes, I think that is one of the blessings of it, but I'm skeptical that the government digital currencies will be blockchain based and will support independent wallets to be able to generate.
The governments are going to do what they're going to do, right? And we all know what governments do. So.
Of course. Yeah. I just fear they're just going to make a Venmo that's government issued that has censorability, and once it's digital, though, like
I see
it
what
makes
you mean.
people more comfortable with it. But I think as in the long run, like right now, we're not. I mean, I'm not trying to activate 100% of the planet onto crypto at this point. It's like we got 100 million users. Like, let's focus on the next 100 million users, and let's focus on the next 200 million users. Like, let's get there. We're not going to see, like, Bitcoin just can't even handle that, like, such rapid growth right now. It doesn't work for the majority of people at $9 a transaction fee. But crypto in general,
value I look at it more as personally as digital gold, and so now hopefully it can be a store of value for a lot of people who $9, I agree with you, is a lot, but So,
but $9 to send $1 billion, is radically transformative technology, and we're going to see. I feel that Bitcoin is going to be much more of a settlement layer, and we'll see other cryptos that have higher throughput and lower fees, like, stepping in. We'll see more solutions. The thing is, like,
you mentioned Dash. Do you have a favorite? I mean, you mentioned a few, but I think Dash was the first one you mentioned.
I mean, I honestly, like, I've got a small values in a bunch of different ones. And, like, I don't mind Dash. I think Dash is cool. I like Litecoin. I know Bitcoin Cash, like BCH. That one's good.
Yeah,
I really like
Doge, which is
I really like Doge. I really like the Doge. I'll tell you why I like the Doge. It's got incredibly low fees, and its community is and it works, and it's stable, and it's secure, and it benefits from a lot of things that Bitcoin does in terms of history and security.
You mentioned the community. What? I'm sorry. What about the community?
So the community in Doge it's based on a meme. It is like, it's not taking life too serially. It's not that it's a joke. It's because it's not a joke, but it's meme. This is like part of mimetic warfare.
Didn't it start as a joke? I got the sense that it started as a joke.
And Jackson Palmer started it as a joke, and he has since kind of like stepped away from the project. But the community itself has stayed on to it, and it works. And it's a great way to engage. It costs like, a fraction of a Doge to make a transaction. So like right now, I'd say Bitcoin is the gold, and like Litecoin is the silver, if you want to say that. And then Dogecoin is like the copper of the world, but it's much cuter.
Ah, okay. But it's much cuter. I like that. That makes sense. So I have a question from the chat here. I'm going to throw it up. So they want you to break down the process of BWIT and how regular bear humans might want to use it to decide how much BTC they might want to hold. I don't know if do you know what BWIT is, the BWIT concept?
Okay, BWIT. Cool. I don't know who found. Is that Oz? I don't know. Okay.
It's Dr. Brad.
BWIT. It was the Bitcoin Wealth Insurance theory or something like that. So a number of years ago, I was like, engaging with some of the central banks and some of the wealth funds, and really telling them or suggesting to them that you guys need to take Bitcoin seriously. This thing is going to change the world, and it's better to be ahead of the curve than behind it. The question that I asked was, how much Bitcoin should a person buy? How much Bitcoin should a company buy, an individual buy, a country buy, a corporation buy, or a central bank buy? Like, because, the old investment advice in gold is like buy 10% or 5%, just some arbitrary number. And,
right.
That's just like kind of just guessing. I'm like, there's got to be we should be able to come to a number into how to do this. So I started looking, and I actually engaged with, a couple other colleagues in the space, had some really good discussions. We wrote a whole paper on it. And, in the end, I simplified it down to a very simple formula, and that's this. The entire world's wealth as the denominator, I think that's it. Make the entire world's wealth. What is the total wealth of the world? And Credit Suisse has numbers on this. They've been tracking this. And I think as of last year, it was about $300 trillion is the entire wealth of the world. So if you have a personal wealth or aspire to have a certain amount of wealth, what is our wealth target? So if we say we want to have, let's say, $1 million worth of wealth, then you take $1 million and divide it by 300 trillion, and that would give you your proportion of wealth with regards to the rest of the world, your footprint, your wealth footprint, if you will. Now, Bitcoin is amazing, incredible. One of its greatest features is scarcity. We know that there will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin. So you've got two ways to calculate this. You can say, I want to find my wealth footprint based on the total supply of Bitcoin ever or our current supply. Let's just use total supply. So you take 1 million divided by 300 trillion, that's your proportion, times 21 million, and that will yield you the amount of Bitcoin that you, by holding that amount of Bitcoin, you will hold in relation to the rest of the supply of Bitcoin the same amount as your wealth to the rest of the world. So this is like, and it's just like, back in the day, I think it was 87,000 bits was for $1 million. what it was. And like when I was first calculating that, like 87,000 bits was probably like, $100. And now it's, almost 87,000 bits is like, almost $200, or no, almost $800. Yeah, it's gone way up. So this was just this idea, this formula you could apply. So you could take to a group like the Canadian Pension Plan that has 300 billion assets under management and say, look, you have 300 billion in wealth. Okay, times 20 divided by 300 trillion times 21 million. By that amount. By having that amount, you can potentially defend that amount as a purchase price. You're not taking a speculative position on it, and you're not taking a speculative position forward or backwards. You're taking an insurance position. This is simply a hedge. And I say to everybody, by not owning any Bitcoin, you are underexposed to Bitcoin. You are at risk. You are not insured against the externality that is Bitcoin. So that's the BWIT formula, and we actually made another entry in a hackathon for that in Miami, called BitHedge or something like that.
I think I saw that. If I'm not mistaken. I think I remember that entry. That's pretty funny though. Wow, that's it. I've never heard of I've heard very little about the BWIT concept. I've heard the name and the term before, but the way you broke it down, it makes sense. That's interesting. I hope that answered your question, Dr. Beatles. Anyways, Kyle, so tell me a little more where people can find you. We're coming up on time. Where can they find you? Where can they find out more information about Swiss Key, and where can they contact you?
Yeah, I mean, Twitter's probably like the easiest way, as long as I'm not shadow banned there, which I never know because I tweet a lot. I've been really vocal on this whole COVID crap. But you can find me on Twitter. SwissKey.io for more information on the project. I'm absolutely always looking to kind of collaborate and partner, and as well, if you think, if you've got a question or you want me to help you with anything, like I might be able to help, I might not, but feel free to reach out. Like, one of the things that I've kind of prided myself on was being accessible and offering people the time. I know I've been afforded a lot of time with colleagues and people that I respect in my life. So if anybody, wants to engage, please feel free to reach out. I'm down. Part of collaboration is communication, and however it might be, until I can't scale myself anymore, that's the end of my limits. But right now, I'm also additionally looking for mentors, capital partners, sponsors, people, light workers who want to help realize this golden age. And the piece of the puzzle that I'm bringing out with Swiss Key is the universal digital wallet.
How
awesome.
have you funded Swiss Key to date?
Pardon me?
How have you funded Swiss Key to date?
So I've funded Swiss Key to date through the issuance of Founders Circle shares. So I've actually created a let's call it a Founders Circle token that represents a share of gross revenue from the app revenue channels in perpetuity. And that has been how I've been funding. But I've also received kind of donations as well from people who believe in me and believe in the cause, which is, incredible, support and validation for it. It's a marathon, not a sprint. But I'm looking really to work with philosophically aligned partners on this. I just don't have space for too much profiteering or darkness in my world, and I've been very conscious to not allow myself to get sucked into the easy market, the easy money with selling your soul attached to it, which I'm just not willing to do.
Yeah. No,
so I just wanted to follow up real quick. Somebody had asked regarding the BWIT. Where can they find the paper that you had mentioned?
Kemper Clifford paper. That's what we called it. I don't know. Let's. I don't have it published anywhere right now. I'll have to dig that up. But maybe that's something that I'll send to you and you can share out, and we can get it out there. But
Sure.
yeah, because originally, like, the intention of that paper was central banks. That's like central banks. Like, we need these guys to add it to the treasury. They've held gold forever and need to have Bitcoin. And right now, I don't even want them to be doing that at this point, because as soon as they do that, hyper Bitcoinization hits, and all of a sudden, a lot of the good people don't still have access to it. I prefer that we see
Right.
hyper Bitcoinization take place by, a billion people buying $10 worth of crypto, as opposed to, well, who cares? I mean, what happens will happen. But as soon as one of the major central banks decides to buy Bitcoin, and they have an obligation to report that they do it, that will be the shot heard around the world, and that will be them making an aggressive prisoner's dilemma, first mover advantage move, and then everybody else will scramble towards doing it. And I believe that there is an opportunity for all the banks of the world to work together if they could ever figure out a way to do that, but to to agree towards adding it to reserves peacefully. But I just don't think that's going to happen. And I think we're also seeing some of the smaller nations that don't have reporting obligations are probably doing it in secret and accumulating resources in secret. I heard the other day that I think it was, Belarus or some Eastern European country is holding on to a lot of Bitcoin that they seized from someone, and they're just holding it, which, I think is a good strategy.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Well, I hope that answered your question. Dr. Beatles, again, thank you for asking the question on the BWIT. Kyle, it was a pleasure having you. I appreciate you coming. You are always welcome back to Crypto Mondays here in, kind of VR. I'm in VR. Thank you for everyone who attended in VR. But yeah, I really enjoyed our conversation. Lots of information and lots of good points that you pointed out regarding wallets and mass adoption and security and private keys and the whole shebang. You're always a knowledgeable dude every time I talk to you. So I really appreciate you coming out.
Oh, thank you so much, Annalise. It was such a pleasure. And yeah, keep up the great work. I've been really enjoying all of your content. I know it can maybe feel like a lot sometimes, but you're doing a fantastic job, and people are super appreciative. And on behalf of everybody, I'd just like to say thank you. Keep on rocking. You're a rock star. We love you.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. I needed to hear that. All right, guys, you heard it here first. Check us out next week
and
on
Lou,
Crypto Monday.
Can't say enough about Lou, too. Lou,
Yeah, thanks, Kyle.
You can't forget about Lou.
Collaborator, creator.
Another great show.
We do have a great show. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in.